When last we left our hero on stage in New York, he was performing in Hadestown, which was, 2019 Tony winner?
2019, 8 Tony Awards, yep.
Wow, that's incredible. But obviously you've been hit like everybody has with COVID. There's nothing going on the Great White Way right now in New York.
Nope, we were approaching nearly a year. We were at Hadestown, we were in the middle of a rehearsal, I think March 12th. And we're approaching a year of not having any shows running on Broadway or in New York.
Wow. Well, for anybody who's not been an actor for any time in their life, you know that acting means that working is the least thing you do. I mean, getting paid for work as an actor. When you're on and you're doing 8 shows a week. But when you're off and you don't have a gig, you're waiting tables, bartending, or if you're smart, you're doing what you're doing, which is you're creating an online community for performers and people who are, let's call them performer adjacent or lovers of theater, because I'm going to guess, and we haven't talked about this and I don't know, but I'm going to guess that the majority of the people in your community are people who love New York theater, who love dance, who love music, who want to reach out and touch it, even though they might have a life, here in Wisconsin or someplace else in the United States or even abroad, but they can actually interact with Broadway performers in a first-person way, and that's via a community called Performers Puzzle. Can you give us a quick download on what that's about?
Yeah. So when this pandemic hit, I have always been the type of performer who was very motivated and was really good at taking the time to invest in myself and go to a practice room for an hour and go dance. And when the rug was like pulled out from under all of us as a community, it was really hard for me to do that. And it took me a couple months. And then in order to try to get remotivated again, I just started turning on some amazing songs that I knew I would love to dance to. And I started choreographing for the first time kind of in my life. And it launched a 2-week workshop that I did over the summer, where I was going through choreography from movie musicals and ending with The Greatest Showman, which I got to be a part of. So I taught the original choreography from Greatest Showman. And I realized there was such a desperate need for us to feel that sense of connection and to re-engage in that like artistic flame that we all have, not just for people who are performing on Broadway, but like you said, lovers of theater and like-minded people who just supported this community and support the arts. So based on that idea of that need, I launched Performers Puzzle, which the metaphor behind it is over time, I kind of have learned for myself, it is not my job as an actor to try to fit into somebody else's puzzle that's being created. It is a much healthier mindset for me to really define who I am, what I'm capable of, and to just showcase that and bring that into the room of an audition so that if it doesn't go my way, then it just wasn't a good fit. And hopefully, the right fit will come along. But it's a much healthier mindset to stay true to yourself. And I actually think it attracts a lot more success when you are strongly defined in who you are and what you're possibly capable of. So out of that, I launched the idea of Performers Puzzle, and we focus a lot on re-engaging and reigniting our true sense of how and why we connect to music and dance and the performing arts. So it's a beautiful global community. And the overarching idea is that dance is a human behavior and doesn't necessarily have to be just for performers who are pursuing this as a full-time career. And I gear the choreography to that idea to allow for a full spectrum of capabilities to feel welcome and be able to participate in our classes. We dance live together every Wednesday night. Every class is available for download. We have a couple of features in the beginning of the month, at the end of the month, all circling around one common theme. We've had Tony Award winners, Tony nominees come dance, come be interviewed. And it has really become this really magical community that has connected in a way that was so necessary during this time of isolation. And it's never going to be the connection that you feel when you go to live theater, that whatever happens in those 2.5 hours is so special. And I think we will still be all craving it desperately. But for now, what we're doing helps recreate a version of that. is helping keep me motivated and focused and inspired. And that's where we're at right now with Performance Puzzle.
And when you say it's for everybody, any type, any capability, whatever, you aren't kidding, because I'm looking at your Instagram feed right now and it features, I think this was last week or 7 days ago, whatever it was. You had a very special person on there who I recognize from the Tony Awards show, because her performance as Ado Annie in Oklahoma won the Tony for Best Supporting Actress in a musical. Is that right?
Yep. The incredible Ali Stroker.
Yeah. And what I mean by that is especially that she's wheelchair bound. She is a differently abled performer who managed to get a Tony Award because she was completely true to who she is in a way that was so magnetic that the second she came on stage, that's where the eyes went of every person in the audience. I remember seeing that performance going, oh my God. And I've seen Oklahoma, like everybody, way too many times. And Ado Annie is supposed to be the funniest part and never is. And then you see someone who brings a level of humor and sexuality and sensuality to it. That's like, now I get it. And that's tremendously exciting. And I imagine that your community probably loved that.
If anybody's going to really embody the idea of not fitting into, somebody else's idea of their puzzle, it's Ali Stroker. I mean, there was no way she was ever going to fit into somebody's idea or a puzzle that was already being created, because there had never been room for an actor in a wheelchair before. So it was an amazing opportunity to sit down with her and to kind of figure out, how did she do it? How aware was she of what she has accomplished, and how aware was she of the strategies and the lessons she had to learn in order to eventually go on to be to win a Tony Award and be the first person in a wheelchair to be seen on the Tony Awards. I mean, it was amazing. So she also, going back to this other recurring theme of dancing as a human behavior, like Ali is still a dancer, not in a traditional sense, but I'm not a dancer in a traditional sense. And that's something that I don't think is taught enough. There's a lot of academic approach to theater these days where they try to strip you down and then build you back up again. And I think we are losing sense of that original fire of why we are pursuing this as a career, why we're majoring in this and choosing to go into this very difficult industry and business. And it's something that I really think should be practiced more and discussed more. And that's one thing that I'm really proud of what we're doing every class.
What does a class look like? If somebody were to join the community and wanted to participate in the class, how does that work?
So we have a membership where everybody can communicate via message board and communicate and connect that way. We have a live interview feature called The Missing Piece, where we interview somebody and we go live and every member can be throwing in questions and get their personal comments and questions answered. At the end of each month, the cycle of each month, we do a feature called Connecting the Pieces, where I sit down with another Broadway performer, and we have a specific discussion conversation there. And then every Wednesday night, live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we connect and everybody gets a Zoom link, and we have a theme for each month's cycle. Currently, we are celebrating self-love, and I choreograph and choose music and do the work each week to find something that I think we will connect and relate to, and make sure that everybody can approach it whatever level they're coming from. And if you can't make the live class, then you can download the class. It's up about an hour after, and you have access to the last 3 months of classes, so that if you ever need to take a class and feel that sense of motivation and just dance it out during the week, you can go download a class and take it from home.
The marketer in me instantly looks at this from the point of view of, okay, who is in your target audience for purchasing a membership? And I'm like, okay, in my head, it's someone who is involved or loves the arts, specifically dance and music, and probably a little bit of Broadway musical. They love that part of their life. They want to be active, but the idea of going to a Orange Theory or a 24-hour fitness to sit there and lift some weights has no appeal whatsoever. But if you said, do you like Greatest Showman, the movie musical? you're going to learn the dances from that. And you're going to be able to dance along with some of the people who are in the cast. And you're going to be part of a community who knows the words to every single song in the movie. And then we'll happily geek out afterwards on what's your favorite scene or what's your favorite costume or, blah, 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 whatever. What you're doing is you're identifying tribe members. Literally the people who are like, yeah, I don't like to call it working out, but if you say it's dance, yeah, I'm all over that. And do you know how, Broadway would not exist if there was no such thing as ex-theater majors, seriously.
For sure.
Because all of us are like, oh, I just love this. I miss this. It's almost like going to church for some people in terms of that spiritual battery filling, that
and
recharge.
There was and the idea of what dance class had become specifically in New York, like Broadway Dance Center and steps, there's an intimidation around going to a dance class and working with a choreographer. It's not like you can really let your guard down. There's no comfort level when you're taking a class with Andy Blankenbuehler, choreographer of Hamilton, because you want to be in his next show. It's like an audition. And I recognized early on that this Zoom world was very safe and allowed people to kind of explore for themselves without the expectation that I'm going to help get you a job. So it takes all of the edge off, but it's still, you get to have the access to Broadway performers and Broadway music and that sense of community that you could connect with, but from the safety of wherever you're taking class. You know what your product really is? This is my humble opinion. It's joy. It's literally joy. You get every Wednesday night may be the most joyous night of your week because you get to. It is for me. This episode of the Nonfiction Brand podcast is brought to you by my new book, Nonfiction Brand. Discover, craft, and communicate the completely true, completely you brand you already are. Now available on Amazon.com. Jay Baer, best-selling author of Talk Triggers, said, "The book is outstanding, highly recommended. A spectacularly useful guide to personal branding that pulls off the difficult trick of being both realistic and inspirational. A must-read, regardless of where you are in your own brand-building journey." To get your copy, head on over to Amazon.com and search Nonfiction Brand. And let's get you all the credit you deserve for the completely true, completely you brand you already are. What kind of stuff do you have coming up with Performers Puzzle? I mean, I'm always trying to find ways to connect with other fun communities and other great artists. One time we were dancing a number from The Wild Party, and Julia Murney popped into class. We were dancing to her song. I have something similar coming up planned where I'd like to support my fellow artists who are putting out, who have done some tremendous work making records and writing songs during this time. And now I like to highlight them and bring them into the community, and then not only their song, but then bring them as a person into the community. So I have a couple of those coming out. So it sounds like you're kind of this our man in Havana for anybody who loves New York theater. So again, in my head, I'm going, okay, let's take that dance teacher in Wausau, Wisconsin, who's now in minus 20 degree weather going, "Ooh," and teaching the same stuff to the same kids who are not necessarily inspiring their love of dance. They could join your group, your community, and every Wednesday night get an injection of white hot New York musical theater music. You're curating people. You're literally curating. These are the people I find interesting. I know you will too. So there's that level too. So, wow, you are like an ambassador for anyone in your community to that whole New York thing that we would all love to be insiders of. Yeah. And I love that description of it, because that's exactly what I would try to do. And I also am trying to connect people in this time of isolation. I mean, the other week I had a tremendous opportunity. I finally brought the choreography from Hadestown into the community. I waited because I was like, this is a strong card to play. And I allowed people to come in and just drop in for the first time into one class. Then I had my entire membership. And then I had a really cool dance community from Australia who wanted to take it at the same time. So altogether, we had about, over 100 people globally learning the choreography of Hadestown. It was really, really exciting and such a unique opportunity.
Yeah, that type of experience. I mean, obviously, we're all kind of in our COVID bubbles. Your community is actually creating links between those COVID bubbles in a way that you may have to be sequestered by yourself. That doesn't mean you're alone. And for any theater kid around the country, I'm thinking, who did that great speech? Was it Neil Patrick Harris?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, about being the theater kid.
Yeah, this is for all the theater kids out there who, dream and all that stuff. My God, that spoke to the soul of so many people that, even people like me who gave up on the dream a long time ago in order to do the Nonfiction Brand podcast, among other things.
Which you're thriving in.
Well, it's me leaning into the completely true part of me, which is I've always been this, well, even as an actor, everyone knew me as that kind of cerebral actor, that not the Marlon Brando method guy, but the still waters that run deep. But you know what I mean? There are actors who are like, oh, that guy's pure emotion. And the other one is more Jeremy Irons, more, there's a lot going on there.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, enough about me. This is about you, Tim Hughes. Tim Hughes of Broadway fame, of The Greatest Showman fame, of Hadestown fame, of Frozen fame, and also
of Brookfield, Wisconsin.
Yeah, which freaks me out because I grew up in Shorewood, Wisconsin, which is on the the lakeside. Brookfield.
Great theater program.
Yeah, which I was part of, which is where my theater. I fell in love with theater when I was in third grade, and there was a teacher in service day, and they had the quote smarter kids come to do a improv thing. Mm-hmm. First time I got a laugh, boom, I'm in. And then I went to Shorewood High School with Barb Gensler, who was the director there at the time. And she was tough. But that's what we loved about her. To be in her shows was like, whoa. It's like, you're from Wisconsin, you'll appreciate this. It's like playing football for the Green Bay Packers under Vince Lombardi. Even though I know you didn't watch the Super Bowl, and frankly, neither did I.
It's very funny. I have another classmate of mine who went on to play in the NFL. He's very successful, Joe Thomas from Brookfield Central High School. And when I compare the levels of success, I was like, oh, we both have reached the top level of the industry that we've chosen to be a part of. And I was like, and our paychecks couldn't be more different.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. But, you'll be able to do this the entire rest of your life, because I want to talk about this, because oftentimes it's really helpful to have someone who shows you it's possible. And I'm guessing there's a predecessor to you named Tommy Tune.
Yeah.
And anybody who remembers the Broadway musical turned into a movie with Carol Channing, Hello, Dolly, might remember this 6'7" guy playing Ambrose, whatever his name is.
That's exact Kemper, I think his last name.
Yeah, Ambrose Kemper, and big, gangly, long-legged, really, really entertaining. And here's the thing a lot of people don't know about Tommy Tune. He got more Tony Awards for his choreography than his onstage performance.
Director, choreographer, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Was Tommy Tune kind of the see it to be it? I can see him, I can be it inspiration for you doing what you're doing?
For sure. I mean, yes. And it wasn't just Tommy Tune he definitely was the leader in paving the way, in breaking the mold. When I was talking with Allie in my program, she was like, there's been nobody who's paved the way. And I was like, I credit Tommy Tune for pushing that door open. Allie now has pushed the door open for a whole different community, which is beautiful. But definitely Tommy Tune. Jerry Mitchell went on as a Broadway dancer, went on to be a director, choreographer. People in my life, I've worked with Bill Ryle, who is currently in the Wicked Company. He's about a couple inches shorter than me, 13 Broadway shows. I have a dear friend of mine, Mark Shamil, who was also on that Chitty Chitty Bang Bang tour. A tall dancer from dancing behind Patti LuPone at the Tonys for Anything Goes. There have been a lot of people who have paved the way. And I'm so, so grateful for that. But I do think that what my unique puzzle piece still has is an athleticism that is unique to my background that allows me to get really low and stay very grounded. And that's where Tommy Tune and I and a lot of those other dancers differ, because they stay very light on their feet and they're beautiful tappers, and there's a gorgeous port de bras and a buoyancy, and I can get down. And that's the difference. And that's where I feel like I am I definitely have been driving on that path that has been paved for me. But now I feel like I'm reaching a point where I'm kind of making my own little path from here. But for sure, I mean, amazing, wonderful legends and icons have come before me who have made me feel like, yes, this is possible. I also remember a childhood book that my mother strategically would read to me called Boy, Can He Dance? And it was really encouraging, and a really encouraging book, especially at that time in Wisconsin, to read a story about a family. It was like an Italian family who had a famous chef as the father, was really encouraging this young boy to dance. And that really was like super inspiring for me too. So little pockets of feeling like the representation existed already, and that helped inspire me.
I think those little things are like little permission slips. It's like you have permission to even think this because other people have, you know, and I'm not suggesting that you are a carbon copy of Tommy Tune or anything like that. What I'm saying, and I totally get what you're talking about when it comes to your physicality in dance, your athleticism, because there's a huge difference between light, and great, grounded grit. And that undoubtedly is what got people responding to you the way they did in the Los Angeles Times article, where they talk about you having this presence and all that stuff. And kudos to you for uniting the kind of twin halves of your movement styles. You've got the dance style, but you've also got the athleticism of sports as well, which, you know, again, having been on both sides of the casting table, you know, as an actor and as casting for commercials and stuff like that. Something you said earlier just really struck me, which is when you see someone who comes in and they know who they are and they aren't some kind of braggart or fronting idiot or anything like that, but you can sense it and it's magnetic. And when they're done and you have nothing on your face that indicates whether they have a chance or not, they don't care. If that is power. I don't know about you, but when I did auditions, the jobs I didn't care if I got are the ones that I would get. It's the ones that I really, really wanted. They could smell the desperation.
Yeah.
You know, anyway, kudos to you for doing that. Do you see directing and choreography in your future?
To be honest, I didn't. Right now, I don't know. I mean, based on the fact that I'm able to choreograph a new combination every week, I'm like, oh, I do have this vocabulary, this skill that I'm kind of fine tuning as this year goes on. Granted, choreographing for a show is very different than choreographing for a community, for a virtual Zoom class every week. But as far as things that you have to take into consideration and then translate that through movement and connect with a song, I'm definitely sharpening that tool and those skills, and I'm finding so much joy in doing it. So I wouldn't say no to it. It definitely has opened up a whole new world for me as far as considering myself as a potential choreographer or director, which I would love to do. But I do think that right now my focus is still my performance, is still performing first. And we'll see. You know, it's been really fun to discover a new skill set in my toolbox this year.
Well, and I think what you're doing is you're lifting weights. You're literally, and you're not lifting the heavy weight of doing a 3-hour musical. No, you're doing a class, and so you're lifting the 15-pound weight, not the 500-pound weight. Well, the more you lift that 15-pound, the more comfortable it is, and then you're grabbing that 20-pound, and then you're gradually leveling up. You know, like doing this podcast. Whenever I'm talking to anyone who's serious about growing their personal brand, and especially if you want to be a professional speaker, you know, where you're paid to present on whatever subjects you speak about, I always tell them, start a podcast. The barrier to entry is zero. I mean, once you've got your basic mic set up and all that stuff, and you've done it a few times, it cost me $5 a month to host the podcast on a podcast host. I mean, $5 a month. I think I can invest that. I can invest less than a coffee in my personal brand by doing a podcast every week, as I have for this right now is about 130 episodes or something like that.
Wow.
But here's the thing. It's a bit of a task.
Yeah.
But for me, I am lifting weights. I'm getting better at my mic technique, at my audio editing. I'm leveling up these skill sets so that, without going into detail, I did what I did in my 20s, which was I did improv comedy for 5 years. I have zero fear on stage because there's no fear like getting up and not knowing what you're doing in an improv show. That fear has been burned out of me, and I'm sure you could probably have similar experiences where your first show, you're probably scared to death. And I'm not saying you don't get, let me say that, let me put it this way. I'm sure there's probably some fear, but you as a professional have flipped that coin over and turned and looked at the excitement side of fear. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm excited, and I'm excited because I'm prepared. And you were talking about luck in last week's episode. Luck is huge, but the thing about luck is, what's that old saying? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yep, exactly.
You were prepared. The opportunity came. And I think I was watching an interview with you where you mentioned the fact that you got The Greatest Showman because a friend of yours was auditioning for it. And they said, you need to talk to my friend. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah. And that's really the turning point in my career, in my height story, because when I was starting out, I was trying to dummy down my height. I was never saying that I was 6'7". My resume read like 6'5", sometimes 6'6", just to try to get in the room. And I had been playing the role of the monster in Young Frankenstein. I played it up at Maine State Music Theater. I played it at the Muni, and I was making it my own. And I was dancing on these 6-7 inch platform tap shoes. And I was doing all of the dance for putting on the Ritz, which usually the monster kind of there's a shadow player and he goes off to stage right and somebody else does it. Right. No, I was doing it all. So I was creating a niche for myself. And my friend was having dinner with the director of The Greatest Showman, who loves to talk about his projects, Michael Gracie. And she, being from Buenos Aires and being the amazing, confident woman she is, was like, well, my friend has to be in your show. And he was like, what? She was like, you have to meet my friend. If you're looking at the time was for the giant in The Greatest Showman, for those of you who've seen it. It better be on your list.
Sorry, it's on my list. I'm going to watch it.
So I was originally being considered for a giant role. So I was very honest with my height. I was like, well, I'm 6'7", I'm very tall. And they eventually shifted and they're like, we're looking for somebody who's actually going to be well over 7 feet. But casting had said, you're already on the radar of the director. We're going to bring you in to dance this choreography because they don't know that you can really dance like this. So then I danced for the rest of the oddities, and I went through the whole process of that and sang, and we're doing sides. At the final call for that, on camera, because it's for film, they tape everything, I had to step forward and slate my name and my height. And I was like, oh gosh, this is where I usually defaulted to try to blend in. I tried to fit into the world that I thought they were creating. And I had to come clean. And I was like, I'm Timothy Hughes, I'm 6'7". And then we danced it out. And luckily, that is what they wanted. They wanted to find these unique, eccentric oddities to fill this world of the circus. And I just happened to have that distinguishing quality in my height. So when I got it, it was such a shift for me because I was like, oh my gosh, this is an asset. This will always make it or break it. And I have to look at it like it's going to make it for me. And that helped really shift the mindset. I went straight into auditions at the end of filming for Frozen. And the original concept for that was my character rose up out of the ground and kind of became this set piece and then opened up this huge cape to start the show. And they wanted me to be as tall as I could to do it, to fill that effect. So as soon as I kind of started embracing it in that way, the floodgates of success and consistency started coming my way. And I always say it's definitely like the Oprah effect. In hindsight, I can talk about it and be like, well, this is how, this is what you can do. It's easier said than done, but it's something that I try to instill in my program, in students, to start working on that now. Because I do think that that will eventually lead to more success and a healthier mindset.
Well, exactly. And that's exactly what the foundation of nonfiction branding is about. Embracing the completely true, completely you truth of who you are, what you do, and how you do it, and then communicating that to the world. So communicating that you're 6'7", communicating via demonstration that you can dance, not like, oh, look at the funny tall guy dance, but oh my God, I've never seen anybody dance like that, because there's this combination of testosterone and technique.
And grace. Still got grace.
Oh, okay, well, I'm not saying you're not graceful, dude. But I am saying that you are unique, and consequently, you're finding your place in your own puzzle. You're literally getting back to your analogy or your working metaphor for Performer's Puzzle, which is an online community and membership that is open to anybody around the globe. Tell us how that works. Like, if I wanted to join Performer's Puzzle today, what would I do?
If you want to check it out, you can check out the Instagram handle Performer's Puzzle. You can also learn more details about the membership at performerspuzzle.com/join. That breaks down what you get out of a membership. And there's some fun clips from classes that we've done and some footage that you can check it out, both on the Instagram and on the page and on the website. But we're having an amazing time. And it started off as just an idea, and I can truly say that it's working for this global community. And it's been such a beautiful thing to be a part of at a time when it's really difficult to feel connected, especially for anybody in the theater community. But it has been so great to connect with every week, every class, every opportunity that I can. And I hope you'll check it out. And please reach out to me if you're interested.
Well, definitely do. If you love New York, if you love musical theater, if you love dance, if you love music, if you love being involved in a community that is truly global and does not care where you happen to be, this is a great way to get your itch scratched, if you will. So definitely check it out. The Performer's Puzzle is the handle on Instagram. That's a great way to get started. There is a link in your profile on Instagram. I noticed that. So that's probably the easiest place to go. So Instagram, look for Performer's Puzzle, and you will find your way to the world of Tim Hughes. What a great conversation. I truly appreciate it. And coming into this conversation, I didn't know what to expect, because I did know it was going to be interesting because you're a friend of Molly Mahoney. And let me tell you, anybody who can hang with her is definitely going to be a good time. But I had no idea that your Performer's Puzzle was going to be so aligned with what I'm trying to do with nonfiction branding, especially when it comes to discovering your piece, being true to your piece, completely true, and get over the fact of trying to fit in someone else's puzzle. I love that as an idea, so definitely check that out. Well, that's it for this episode of the Nonfiction Brand Podcast. I would love for you to like, subscribe, refer, and review it wherever you get this fine podcast for free, because that helps other people find it. I'm DP Knudten, and he is
Tim Hughes.
Thank you so much for being on. And for the rest of you, I'll be talking at you next week. Bye-bye.